Africans believe in three things: peace, love, and unity. There can never be understanding without love for humanity.
I don't think President Moi did anything outside the law in terms of arrests and detention, because there was a provision in the law that a person shall be detained by the president. The broad change was, of course, Oginga Odinga, the son Raila Odinga. They were in that crowd also Martin Chikuku, the late Martin Chikuku. They were in that crowd Kenneth Matiba, the late Kenneth Matiba, and a host of others.
Niliona mwenyewe kwa macho yangu mara kwa mara, siangalie television, lakini nikasema waje niangalie kupambana.
There is always that tendency for a person to rebel against change from what you are. And this is common, it's human nature. Even in our own small ways, if you are used to coming off bed from the left, if you are told to come from the right, it will be quite a tussle, because, I mean, it has become a culture. It has translated into a procedure, kind of a ritual. So any move to change it would tend all the time to be resisted. So that is what was happening in the years before 1992. There was a lot of resistance to change, and there was a lot of pressure for change. And that, of course, resulted in casualties. It resulted in fights, skirmishes amongst persons, amongst groups, and all that which you expect to see within resistance happened at that time. Of course, the government was KANU. And KANU bridled a lot in the belief that we are the independent party. We are the party that brought self-government, that caused freedom to be allowed to the nation. So they were holding on to anything that would want to throw them off government. They were resisting because of that historical belief that we are the ones who brought government. Why do you want us to go out and you were not there when government was brought? And the government machinery was all the time into play to fight against such changes.
For those agitating for change, there was no rolling back the will for change.
The resistance against change is not unique to Moi in Africa. It's commonplace in Africa. So it is not unique. You have guys like Muammar Gaddafi, Hosni Mubarak. You have Haile Selassie Mariam in Ethiopia. You have in several in West Africa. You have the latest is our good old man, Robert Mugabe in Rwanda. You have a lot in Zaire, the DRC, Congo, and all that stuff. So the issue of resisting change is not unique to Moi. It's commonplace in Africa. So it would be wrong to apportion blame on Moi alone in Africa. It cuts across so many others. Contemporary situations and past situations. They are all there. But you have asked me...
divisions in opposition.
Yeah, divisions in opposition, yeah. So that is a tactic which is normally used. And it was... If you even listen to the Bible says, when an enemy attacks you, I will stand for you and they will run away out of you in several directions. They will scatter. So that is the principle which is being used by every incumbent, every status quo situation. It uses a method that will scatter the opposition. How do you do it? You study to say the guys in this party are who and who. What are their unique, what is unique about each one of them? And then you use that uniqueness and the temperaments of each individual. You use that, or the temperament of Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, vis-a-vis the temperament of Kenneth Matiba. So you look at it, the likes, what do they like? What are their egos? So you talk into their egos, you talk into their likings, you talk into their inner beings as individual, so that you raise out the egoistic attitude and behavior of a person. So that way, you will then split the two. You put in a wedge in terms of a statement. All right? Take for example, Kenneth Matiba is out in London for some medical treatment. And he's coming back. And the man who is leading Ford is Jaramogi Oginga Odinga. Jaramogi Odinga is slightly older than Kenneth Matiba. So you put into the head of Kenneth Matiba that it is time for Jaramogi Oginga Odinga to go where? Go home. So when he's coming, I'm younger and he's old and he has had his time. He needs to go away. So that's what was done. Kenneth Matiba was given that impression just by some statements. And then when he came, he had a very good reception at the airport, our president. Now, when he saw that reception, everybody said, by the way, is moved by the crowd.
The one who came waving.
And then they come waving. They were blackguards, waving him to be the president. The first thing he did when he now landed in Ford was a big quarrel with Jaramogi Odinga.
And that was the end of Ford.
Because it was entered into him that you are also able to be the president. It was done deliberately by some people away, Ford. So he got into it. He got into the trap. And that trap caused a split in Ford. Then you ended up having Ford Kenya, and then you now ended up having Ford Asili. Now Ford Kenya says, we are the first one, so we are the ones who are known in Kenya. So they call themselves Ford Kenya. Matiba said, I'm Asili. I think he was financing Ford all the time from the beginning. So he said, Mimi ni Asili. So he said, Ford Asili. Not long from there, then we got Ford people. And then
Matiba, and then Kibaki surfaced.
Then Kibaki surfaced with his Democratic Party, because they were hoping Kibaki would then go into Ford. But when it now split, it now became Kibaki DP. I think there was also the chemistry between Kibaki and Matiba who are not that right. Otherwise, Kibaki would have gone into Ford Asili. But I think the chemistry, the geographical content of things, the morphology, was not right for Kibaki to go into Ford Asili. Now, so that is how they were done. Many more activities also were done again by the fellows in government, and it split them even further. It's just like I told you, you will come as one and you will live in different directions, scattered, and they were scattered. So they were never able to reach the threshold The only one who was getting the threshold was Kanu. Although it was a very low, it was a dismal threshold. But there he was. There was no law that was denying a person of that threshold at that time, unlike now. So if it was today, that threshold which was being met by Kanu, vis-a-vis the various positions held by opposition, it would not have seen the light of day. Yeah.
Now, one thing that many Kenyans attribute to the fight for democracy, it's the repealing of Section 2A of the Constitution. The coming into force of the multi-party democracy. But one key moment that engineered that was the Mololongo system of election. And,
I don't think it engineered as such. Maybe the best word is it catalyzed the pressure for change. It gave it an impetus. It gave it more fuel. So that more people were saying, if you can see really a long line being declared the loser, and the small line, the short line, being declared the winner, there is really something wrong in our political spectrum. We need to change it so that it is the majority that takes the day. Then you can as well also come back to the Companies Act, which says the majority carries the day, and yet the minority have their rights and their say. Right? So that's what happened. That is what happened.
And one of the casualties of the games that were played was Kenneth Matiba.
Yes. What happened was, I think Kanu, when I say Kanu, I mean Moi, was smarter than these guys. He was above them. He was above board in thinking and in planning. And of course, he had the machinery of government also. He decided to call for a conference to decide on Section 2A. Because the altercation, the fights about it was so intensified. You would even almost feel them. You would touch the fury in the country from these people about that we need change, we need Section 2A to give us breathing. Like a friend of mine would say, when the reason why people were doing hats with kind of a wire mesh on top was intended to allow hot air in the head to come off, so that it is not too hot. So it's exactly what Moi did. He wanted to deflate this situation. He wanted to bring down this situation, which was costing the country a lot. We were using a lot of time on this, using a lot of resources, and so people were not in any way engaged in economic activities. They were now engaged in these issues of how do we change the Constitution, Section 2A. Moi called a conference at KICC. He called it Kanu National Conference to decide on the Constitution. Right? And he had a field day because he called people by provinces. 8 provinces then, I think.
Yes.
8 provinces. He called them, and then he got them to be placed in lots at the Kasarani Stadium. So you would find one section, Rift Valley, Coast, Nairobi, all through that gymnasium, through that theater, and they were named as such. So he allowed them to speak. A very clever man. He allowed people to ventilate. What do you think? Should we change? Should we not change? He allowed them to ventilate. A few of them indicated they would have preferred a change, but of course in a very clever manner, because you would not do so direct, and this is the boss. You never know what the boss will do next after that. in a failed manner. So they would say in a failed manner. But you would see so and so is for change. That one is not for change. That one is for, that one is not for. So he listened to everybody. In fact, I think he gave, I remember, I think he went about 3 rounds. Round 1, he finished. He went round 2. I think there were about 2 rounds. When they were now about 2-3 rounds, he now said, I have heard you. I now also want to make my own statement.
Na mnauliza nyinyi nyote kukaa na mimi tuende barabara yetu tukiwa KANU pamoja.
In making that statement, he had a very clever man, I'm telling you. Consultation, that's why you have heard me a couple of many times saying we need to rule the country with consultations. Picking ideas from as many people, picking proposals from as many people. He was a clever man. He didn't know what the conference will say. So he prepared himself very well. He had 2 pages which were very critical on Section 2A. He had one for and one against. One that would say we are not repealing Section 2A. And another one which was saying we are repealing Section 2A.
So he had 2 statements prepared?
Yes. The reason why he had 2 statements prepared is because he wanted the person to take the day, members of the public, the Raia. What are they saying? What are their experiences? What are their words of guidance? What are their words of caution? He wanted to hear all that. And he had it. I think he did 2 rounds. That's about 3 persons spoke from every province. Then he told me, because I was sitting behind there, he told me, give me my speech. Then I told him, you have got 2. He said, the one which he's saying, we repeal 2A. In his own wisdom, he had seen, and he has also, mark you, he is also a man with what you would call intelligence reports.
Yes.
Yeah, he had intelligence reports on what the world was saying, and all that. He had all of that packaged up in his mind. Then now he has listened to the Raya, now packaged up in his mind. So he had now to look at the 2. My people are saying this. The world is saying this. He now opted for the middle ground. The middle ground that will not hurt the world, because there is interdependence in terms of economic development. There is interdependence in terms of social development. So he had to look after that, because he saw Kenya cannot singly stay alone. Kenya cannot singly live alone. It has got to live in the community of nations. So he then came and said, he read his speech, the first pages. When he now reached that one, he now said, mimi yale ambao ninayaona mbele ni kali kuliko tunayoona hapa. So lazima tujiokoe kwa yale ambayo yanatukuchia. Lazima tujiweke kwa njia ambayo haitadhuru watoto wetu na haitaharibu uhusiano wetu na marafiki zetu za ulimwengu. He now went into Kiswahili that way. I'm just paraphrasing how he went into Kiswahili. And then he now read the English version, which was saying, I have today therefore decided and agreed that we change Section 2A to allow for multi-party democracy. I don't remember whether he continued reading the balance of the speech, because what was the crescendo? That was the apex. That was the totality of the situation. That is what everybody was expecting, yes or no. But public management is also very interesting, particularly in a political scenario. The public may be telling you yes, but they know in their hearts it is no. They may also be, you may also be telling them yes, and inside them, no. You may be telling them no, and in them is yes. Because it is difficult, the Bible says again, to discern the heart of a man. It is impossible. The only person who can discern the heart of a man is God himself, the creator of us all. He knows how he engineered this frame of a human being. So the reaction was instantaneous, if I can say.
Yes.
It was instantaneous. The hall, the theater, went into, I don't know, I'm even lost of words, but they went into an ecstatic jubilation, celebrating what had been announced. The headline was, in all the papers, Section 2A out.
And it was out.
And it was out.
But analysts say that Moi accepted change, but he did not change. I know you know the statement.
Yes, I have heard that statement.
Yes.
Yeah. But let me ask, what proceeds out of your mouth, the Bible again says, is the product of your heart. What comes out of your lips, played by the tongue, is the product of your heart. I think and I'm convinced, I was around the man, I was with the man. Moi was sincere in saying, I have accepted that change. If he wasn't sincere, in the years that followed, he wouldn't even have allowed, he would have even interfered with the amendment of the Constitution. But he allowed the National Assembly to amend as was agreed by the national organ of the party, KANU, at that time. Yeah, so somebody was only trying to take away the change. That change ni yetu, si ya Moi. It was just some cheap game of trying to snatch away what the men had done.
How were the two leaders, that is Matiba and Oginga Odinga, as leaders of the opposition? How were they in terms of cooperation and in terms of agitation for change?
Each one of them was having strength from their tribal cocoons. Raila Odinga had a massive support from the Luo community. Kenneth Matiba had a massive support largely from the village fellows. It looked to me like the top guys, the grimos of that community, were not that much with Kenneth Matiba. They were kind of with Mwai Kibaki. But you see, the larger bulk of the Kikuyu nation then therefore was with Mwai Kibaki. So each one of them had that strength on that base. That's why I've at one time said, we are just pretending. Tribes are there in Kenya. But acts that seems to glorify tribes above other tribes, normally called tribalism, is the bad element in the whole exercise. Now, if you look at Kenneth Matiba as a person, an entrepreneur, a businessman, so I would have seen him more standing strong on economics of the country because of that background, a former public servant. Unlike Raila and Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, I would have seen Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, I think, going the path of more of a political populist period. And the economics sense of things would have suffered a bit. On the Matiba side, the political element also would have suffered a bit. So that is the way I was seeing the two men.
They came to be arrests during that time.
That was the law then. I don't think President Moi did anything outside the law in terms of arrests and detentions. Because there was a provision in the law that a person shall be detained by the president. It was in the law. He found it in the law from independence.
So there were these laws that were created.
Yeah, they were created there. So he applied them. And I've already told you that when somebody wants to come in with change, there is resistance. And in resistance, you apply what is available to you to suppress that resistance.
These laws were created by some of
these same people, because they were done in parliament. Yeah, so they were done by some of these people who are now, because Jaramogi Oginga Odinga was there from the beginning. Yeah,
Martin Skuku.
He was there from the beginning.
We hear Martin Skuku is actually the one of the laws about detention. He was the one who.
Yeah, they did them, and when they now realized it was them who were being badlocked by that law. So they started saying, this is bad law, this is Moi's law. No, it wasn't Moi's law, it was the constitution of the Republic of Kenya. Moi said one time, kwa Africa, kwa Mwafrika, opposition ni uadui. Alisema once or twice ya kwamba upinzani kwa ubongo, kwa fikra ya Mwafrika ni uadui. It springs from our cultural behavior, our cultural setup in our various tribes, where there were kingpins, there were kings, King Kabaka, King named them, all these kings all over the place. That the word of the king is final. The word of the chief is final. So that was inbuilt in there. That was inbuilt there, in that that upinzani ni uadui. Look at Uganda. This young man, Bob Wine, hiyo ni upinzani kwa Museveni, na Museveni anaona ni uadui. Hivyo ndivyo anachapa yeye kweli kweli, anaweka yeye ndani. Kagame in Rwanda is behaving the same way. The only thing I'm a bit catchy on Kagame is that most of those fellows he's locking in are women that are masking, and they are men to resist in Rwanda.
Rwanda women have like taken over politics because the majority of members of parliament
are women. So that alone is now giving nightmares to President Kagame. It is, the issue is you are trying to oppose and you are just confirming what President Moi said long time ago. Upinzani ni uadui. What do you do with adui? Unakonga. Hata mtu akiingia usiku kwako ni adui. So huwezi kwenda kupembeleza yeye. Unachukua upanga, unanyorosa.
Unabeba unasema kuja.
Kuna hiyo network. So but the reason why Moi was also melting down, towing down, and I thank him for that. And I appreciate him because of him respecting Christian values. You see, he kept on going back to the Bible. And the Bible keeps on saying, forgive one another. You see, and then of course his aspect of listening to people also. So that is why he was towing, kind of ice melting down all the time from 1992 onwards. It's not only 1997 onwards. It started from the day he said, I accept change, Section 2A, Itoke. So he started toning down on various things. But he also wanted things to be done systematically. Not things coming to an abrupt end. And he believed very strongly that for something to be beneficial and useful, let us be gradual. Because you might get into a cock-up somewhere because of not everybody has agreed with what I'm saying, let us change. So we need to carry everybody slowly.
But 1997?
1997, yes, it was already done.
You remember 1997?
Yeah, what did he do?
On the 7th of July.
Yeah.
When agitators went to Cancun, then there was
There is no government anywhere that would allow or sanction meetings that have not been planned with security. Nowhere in Africa. Nowhere. Now, or even anywhere else in the world. Demonstrations are sanctioned everywhere.
But they
and the law had said that for picketing and all that stuff, you need to obtain the relevant authorizations. And then, two, the president swore, and even this president swore, to protect the lives and the property of the people. If these people who are in a political rally starts looting a shop and you have sworn to protect, what do you do? If you sit back and people are looted all over the place, then they will say you swore to protect the properties and you did not. That's when he was coming in. Yeah.